Good afternoon. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's have a look at how the local bourse closed today, Tuesday. Okay, shares pulled off another rally as index climbed close to 0.75% to 6,561. Investors still in bargain hunting mode after that heavy sell last week. That as more and more stocks are reporting better earnings for the April to June and first half period. Again, you can see here from the get-go, at least from the start of today's trading, shares were really trading in the positive territory here. And you'd see here majority of our 30 members of the main gauge are in the green here, with three stocks inching higher by no less than 3%. You have the likes of San Miguel Corporation being the day's best performer, up 3.6%. Globe also in the green here, higher by 3.6%, even as it was cut to hold at Unicapital. Jollibee Corporation also inching higher, up more than 3% here after it completed its acquisition of Tim Ho Wan. A host of other stocks enjoying gains today, but AC Energy, as you can see right here, got sold off today. The worst performer in today's session, the new entrant to the main bourse, declined 2.3% to 9 pesos and 1 centavo a piece. Unfortunately, joining Asian in the negative territory is PLDT, even as it targets to expand its bandwidth capacity via a 3.9 billion peso investment in an undersea cable system called the Apricot Cable Project. So that's going to be a 12-kilometer long cable system with 190 Tbps capacity, which shall connect the Philippines to Japan, Singapore, Indonesia, Taiwan, and Guam. It is expected to be operational by 2024. This is the telco giant's third international cable network system after investments in the Jupiter Cable Project and the Asia Direct Cable System. Despite the development, as you can see right here, PLDT shares ended lower for a second day, shedding 0.7% to 1,250. Now, lastly, one earnings report to look into: Fruitas, with second quarter proving to be sweet for the drink maker. They returned to profitability with a net income of 7 million pesos from a net loss of 27 million pesos in the same period last year. Revenue rose, in fact, look at this, 199% year on year to 263 million pesos. That pushed first half revenue to 524 million pesos. That's plus a 13% growth year on year, but still 44% lower than 2019 levels. But they say stores' daily sales have recovered to about 70% of pre-pandemic levels. Stores have also grown to 67 as of end June, now even reaching 80 as of this month. Investors cheered those developments. You can see in this chart right here, Fruitas ending the day in the green, higher by close to 0.9% to 1 peso and 19 centavos a piece. Now, shifting gears now to the country's monetary policy, Bangko Sentral Governor Ben Jocno says the BSP will keep monetary settings steady until economic growth and employment return to near pre-pandemic level. Jocno speaks on Bloomberg Markets. Let's take a listen.
Kept the policy rate unchanged, and that's because while the economy has turned the corner, the recovery remains fragile. And I think most analysts who have downgraded the Philippines are looking at past data, because to me, the key to the sustained recovery is a successful vaccine rollout. And there are many reasons for optimism. We expect to get, for example, some 60 million doses before the end of the month. The national government, along with the local governments and the private sector, have shown its ability to administer the vaccination program. For example, from past days where we can only vaccinate 25,000 people per day, we can now administer some 700,000 doses per day. And that's not true for many countries with limited healthcare infrastructure. We also have another source of optimism is we have multiple sources of vaccines. Some 7 suppliers: Pfizer, AZ, Moderna, J&J, Sinovac, Sinopharm, Sputnik V. Other countries have only one or two suppliers. And the other thing is we have very little resistance on the part of Filipinos to get vaccinated. And also, there's a very strong private sector support. Some big firms have purchased their own vaccines and they have administered the job to their employees and the families of their
Right.
employees. So all in all, I think we're okay. In fact, for the remainder of 2021, we're expecting the arrival of over 148 million doses, and so we're optimistic that before the end of the year, we'll be able to inoculate 70 million Filipinos, or that's the entire adult population, on or before the end of 2021. So to me, that's the key, the pace of vaccination, and once that's up, we will restore confidence, and the economic activity has actually started, and so we're optimistic.
Governor Jokno, and you mentioned that this triple R cut that people were signaling that could be happening was not timely, wasn't justified at the time. Can you then tell us a little bit more about what the next move from the BSP is going to be? Is it more likely a rate hike or a rate cut?
It's more of the same, unchanged. Okay, I think we need to be at this stage. Before, when I assumed office, I said I committed to cutting the RR reserve requirement ratio to single digit. At that time, it was 18%, single digit. We're now down to 12%. But since there's still a lot of liquidity in the system, there's no point in cutting the reserve requirement at this time.
Now, here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The Duterte government plans to leave a record 5 trillion peso budget for 2022 with bigger focus on social services as the country enters its second year under a pandemic. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says the spending plan is being finalized and would likely be submitted to Congress for deliberation on Monday, that's August 23. Close to 2 trillion pesos, or nearly a fourth of the proposed budget, will be allocated for social services. This is higher by 15% from this year's budget. This includes funding for the Universal Healthcare Law, procurement for additional COVID vaccines, PPEs, and other medical needs. A third of the budget will be reserved for the economic services sector. This includes allocation for the Build program. The Education Department is set to receive the biggest allocation once again, more than 700 billion pesos, followed by the DPWH and the DILG. The Health Department will have a proposed budget of 242 billion pesos, higher than the 200 billion pesos it received this year. A stricter implementation of the enhanced community quarantine is needed. That's according to the Octa Research Group. The think tank says over 60% of cases are still found in Metro Manila and surrounding regions like Calabarzon. Octa says transmission is also increasing in other regions like Central Luzon. Octa adds that ECQ restrictions this time around are more relaxed compared to those implemented last March. In terms of cash assistance, the palace says a third of total cash allotments for NCR are already disbursed. Makati City topped the list of LGUs with the highest disbursement. We're just counting the days to the end of the current ECQ in Metro Manila, but as we speak, there are no clear signals yet if lockdowns will be eased amid the continuous rise in cases. Employers, as expected, are against this. Let's find out why. From Employers Confederation of the Philippines Chairman Sergio Ortiz-Luis Jr. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Jes, and to our listeners.
Okay, so this time around, I mean, ECQ, that at least the current one is going to lapse by August 20. What correspondence have you received so far about what's going to happen beyond August 20? Have you been consulted on what should be the next move here in NCR?
Well, we have not been consulted formally, but we have been talking to quite a number of people. The other day, we met with the Secretary Dizon and also with some of the congressional leaders, Joey Salceda, Sharon, Congresswoman Karin, uh, and also Gatchalian, Chair, and uh, and uh, and we got the sense that neither are they in favor of extending the quarantine. We also feel that with the allocation, as Neda said, of 300 billion for 2 weeks, billion, and the salaries that will not be paid to those who will not be working, estimated by DTI at 30 billion. It is a very expensive exercise, and lockdowns. You do that in order to be able to do something that you cannot do during regular days that you are not locked down.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, what we're doing really is just vaccination and just trying to uh, minimize movement of people. And I don't think that is equivalent to what we are paying for it. No,
Mhm.
it is true that the contagiousness of the variant is showing, but let's remember that 94% of that, or 96% of those numbers, are symptomatic and doesn't need hospitalization. So we should focus on the 4%,
Mhm.
and we should not bet all our lives and economy for those not to increase that 4%. No, which is really relatively small number compared to other critical sickness.
Okay.
The,
So, sir, basing at least from that latest meeting that you have, there's some level of optimism from ECOP here that current restrictions will not be extended beyond August 20. But should restrictions not be eased at least after Friday, how much of a loss are you projecting here, and how many do you expect more to at least go jobless?
well, I don't think we will expect more joblessness, no, because with this lockdown, about 400,000 again to 500,000 was added. So we expect that we don't mind the strict protocols, no,
Mhm.
and whatever you call it. But what we want is people who can work should be able to work.
Okay.
We can make strict implementation on the non-APORs, the children, the elders, but this thing of restricting everybody when you cannot feed everybody. The allocation of the government,
Mhm.
so far as I have heard, is about 15 to 16 billion. That's only good for 1 week. That doesn't even include people who are suppliers or who service the ones in the Metro Manila and Babol. They also lose their jobs
Okay,
and
good thing
they have no assistance.
you were mentioning that. Good thing that you mentioned that. Are there any specific compromises here that you are seeking beyond August 20? Are there specific leeways that you are gunning for specific sectors to just keep the economy running, or at least to have better mobility?
Well, they should allow those who can work, and they should be strict on implementation of policies of protocols on those who should not be going out of their houses.
Mhm.
That is something is a right way to do it. After 1.5 years, we're nowhere in terms of we're the longest lockdown in the whole world.
Mhm.
For a people who has been cooperating, we're the only one using face shield over masks in the whole world also, and yet we should be able to live with this COVID uh, and learn how to deal with it. I think we should improve our health system, which we have failed to improve. We have not even we need additional rooms. We need uh, COVID centers, isolation, and we need the equipments. We should have prepared for this.
Okay.
We should have made our health system insulated from this.
Okay, that of course is something that authorities really have to look into, especially as the pandemic drags on. But we're close to the fourth quarter of the year when bonuses and 13-month pays are normally released. Is this something that employees can still look forward to this year?
Well, at the start of the pandemic, government requested the companies to even advance the 13-month pay. And I think we requested that to our members, and I think mostly everybody complied. Uh, uh, but on the second year, last year, uh, when we know that about more than 50% of the micro are closed down, no? And micro is 90% of our enterprises. Uh, they certainly were not able to advance it. What's more, many of them were having difficulty paying it. No, many of them made arrangement with their people that IOU system. We
Mhm.
even proposed at the time that perhaps government should give a quick response by lending the companies that need money to be able to pay 13-month pay. That did not happen. No, there were allocations made, but the conditions were like regular loans, so no takers. Now, after 1.5 years of difficulty, I don't think we can expect any of the micro industries, which employs 65 to 70%
Okay,
of our employees here in Metro Manila,
so
to
that's
be able to advance.
okay.
What more? I'm not so sure whether they can pay the 13-month pay.
That's going to be at least difficult news here for a number of employees from the MSME sector. But thank you very much for your time and your insights this afternoon. Employers Confederation of the Philippines Chairman Sergio Ortiz-Luis Jr. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that wraps up today's biggest stories on the trading front, August 17, 2021. Catch Business World live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos and Beer One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.